How's everybody doing? I'm Tomlin's Nyback. This is 365 Days Towards Racial Change. We're at day 332 here, marching right along. I was just musing to myself about where are the black holidays? Where are the black celebrations? Those, something to really shake the nation up, something to keep all black people united. Um, on the same page, in the same mindset. Um, I don't know. We got MLK, but everybody's jumps all that so that it doesn't look like a black holiday anymore. What's wrong with a black holiday? Huh? What's wrong with a black celebration? Yeah, come on in and participate and all that, but you know, we don't do that with the Jews. We don't do that with any other. We don't do a Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo, we try to be as Spanish as we can get, but we don't do that with black people. One reason may be is that black folks in America, black Americans are so assimilated into the white structure. You know, what I mean is that um, I don't know if you're looking at a television show, a movie. I had a complaint about this with Black Panther movie. Well, the Black Panthers, he's on a hero's journey, and everything is very structured with it. And it's all white context. You can extract all those black characters, input white characters. It's the same movie, right? It's it is truly is the Black Panther, right? You know, and whatnot. So people jump in and fall in to MLK Day and things like that because it's not a day that is any different from, let's say, Washington's birthday, any Lincoln's um, recognition or anything like that. You know what I mean? There's nothing that that has Black Americans stand apart for holidays and celebrations. Hopefully, we'll get there. We've been trying. We've tried our Kwanzaa. Dr. Anderson has some ideas, but nothing quite sticks. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe the coronavirus, once the smoke clears, if Black people collectively make the right decisions and moves, we might have something um, something of note. We'll see. It's going to be a couple of years. It's going to be interesting to see things restructure. I hope black folks see the opportunity and make some changes. On that note, what's the thinking of white people nowadays? Now that the now that poverty and hunger has risen up in our lifetime to really single out big portions of the white community. All that privilege and ease and the system in which white folks move. What's that like? Black people we're always kind of flatlined when it comes to growth, stability, success, competition, and all that. But now uh, poverty, hunger rose up, into the white realm of success, power, privilege, and Um, of course, you're going to get blowback and feedback and panic um, from people who find it normal to um, to move with ease in the system. Think about it in America. Think about it as though suddenly there was no fresh water. We take it for we flush our human waste with fresh water. We we drink it. We throw it on the ground to keep our lawns and our grass green and whatnot. Uh, but what's that mean for if fresh water was suddenly scarce, super scarce, right? Well, that's what's happened with our economics and our economy. So, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see once things get back to um, running right and normal. Again, it's going to be interesting to see like what the white response to it, dude. You know, is it like a cold wind blowing that makes a person gather their garments closer together on themselves? You know, it ain't going to be like the sunshine to make you maybe take off a few layers, right? So, um, be interesting to see if, in general, white people shore up. See that the black folks, we kind of we're always struggling on the edge, right? So it didn't. It's not that. It's not an escalation. It's not so much an elevation of managing resources and whatnot. Oh, we took some licks. School lunch programs for inner cities, um, and breakfast programs for kids in the cities. That's a heartbreaker. That touched everyone. So I'm not saying that a decrease in resources had no impact on the black community, but the black folks have always had to exercise a level and sense of creativity when we when we talk about um, getting resources, sustaining our families, and things like that. Now, what's that mean? Let's flip the coin. Same coin, just on the other side, is black folks on that note being creative. Uh, you know, I hope that black folks of today see that the creativity had to be at another level, and the veneer came off of this country's lip service at racism, from the young man getting shot in the street in a quiet rural Georgia town. Like, you've got still white folks shooting black folks in the street. Boy, that's so overtly racist and whatnot. Although they're not going to be charged with a hate crime. Um, but you see, if it was white, if the colors were reversed in neighborhoods, that would be a whole different scenario. But if this black man alone in the white neighborhood was shot like a stray wildcat came out of the woods or something, we got to think about that. Um, so now that I feel like black folks have just been under this idea that because the country was not exercising overt racism, blatant racism, that it had gotten beyond and gotten past its racist problems. Like Mitch McConnell, old senator, right? Um, Majority leader in the Senate, Republican. He said we had a black president, therefore racism in America is we fixed it. We got it. Poor Mitch. Oh, Mitch. Man, if we could get Mitch to be black for just one day, I bet you he'd come back with a whole new gospel. Trust me, Mitch. Long story short is I want to say like, you know, we already had problems. Oh, school hunger, resources, getting promoted at work, and all this stuff for black people. But now do you see how, just medically, look at the groups that stays healthy, relatively untouched. Same human, we're all human beings, just with different skin color. But the people with this skin color is suffering more than people with this skin color, right? Um, and everything is relatively even, ceteris paribus, right? So let's, you know, let's understand, let's see, let's open our eyes and say, you know what? This country is still not got off the dime. You know, you could, I mean, you could hang up reparations, genuine reparations for black folks would be in the trillions of dollars. You adjust for inflation, time, and all that. So you know it has laid there so fallow. There's no way to give reparations monetarily. Um, although I think there are still ways the nation can exercise reparations for black folks, just maybe not monetarily. But what I mean, like, is like, you know, help black people. You know, if you are in power, then help black people get it together, get a foothold, right? Um, I stopped. I got a lot of bills. I got bill collectors after me, but now that my head is on the right, it's like y'all people need to let me get my foundation right. Let me get my feet on it because I can't do it. But you keep scrambling and pulling out the um, my feet. There's a movie called Valhalla Rising, right? And one of the opening scenes, it's got this guy. He's a fighter, and he's up against three guys, right? It's two or three guys. I think it's three guys. But you know, and he's tied with a rope and stuff. So and he's kind of fight off these three guys. And you know, when he's prevailing against one guy, the other two guys are jumping on him and pulling him off and all this stuff. And that's what it's like, you know, for black folks. You know, putting all these little traps and doodads and devices out there to tangle us up and keep us confused after we navigate drugs, alcohol, broken families, violence, crime, and all this stuff. And as we try to get, the system is always at it, was pulling at us, pulling us this way. You know, so I put those bill collectors on hold. Yeah, I'll get to that, but I can't get to that while I don't without a foundation. You got to back off, or you'll never get a thing. You know, so I put them on hold. Black folks need to be like that with their lives. You got to put you on hold for a while. If you want to get your thing together, you know, then you have to get your feet, your foundation together, and then you can be effective in the system. And the system doesn't want that. It wants you scrambling, confused, off balance, without a foundation or a foothold, because it knows you can never rise up, you can never be successful if you're scrambling on ice and shaky foundations and whatnot. I'm inspired to do this work. A lot of my ideas and thinking was confirmed and affirmed by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. I'd like you to get these books. First, a Black History Reader, 21 Questions You Never Thought to Ask, Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com. And here on YouTube, behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol. Find Black women supporting one another, having their community and support. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. If you can't find your flavor, your voice here on the World Wide Web, do what I did, start your own little gig. If you have an entrepreneurial mind, check out Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com, for your entrepreneurial community. Also, if you do reach that level where you're doing well, check out a guy named Tyrone Gregory, self-employed tax guy. Find him on LinkedIn. It's the only place I could seem to find him. And he's got a lot of enthusiasm. He'll help you out now. We've been talking a lot about economics lately because of the virus. If you really want to understand America, check out The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. And we also have story time. We might get to a review, but we've been through this book extensively. The whole story, Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. Fictional account of slave life informed by factual events. Today is day 332 at 365 days towards racial change. And today we're just going to be a little philosophical for these last few minutes here. And the question that I want to ask a question, was reason any less prevalent 2,000 years ago? And what will reason look like 2,000 years from now? Look at the elements around us: slavery, oppression, a disease, war, violence, crime. And I'm over 50 years old, and I'm like, I really don't see, it's been over 50 years. Why doesn't mankind move toward being better with itself, its own community, its own identity? And if you're whatever religious leanings you have some answers to that. Every religion has an answer for why mankind isn't getting better, and why mankind is someday going to have this some ultimate end, right? Apocalypse or revelation, whatever. Because I've been steeped all my life in the Protestant tradition. There's original sin, there's a savior, and there's an apocalypse, and then there's a life ever after. That's big, my understanding of faith in a very succinct nutshell there. And in any event, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, anybody Why is mankind still mired in its own um, shortcomings? Never a resolution. Always getting worse. This semester in my philosophy curriculum, I was having this discussion with my professor, and I was asking her. We were talking about progress. Oh, mankind has had progress. We have philosophical progress and all that. And this question hit me as like, wait a minute, why does progress always entail an exponential increase in those detrimental um, aspects of society? We keep getting worse. We keep getting um, in our own way. We keep, our bombs got bigger. You know, we can kill you from a greater distance. Um, Diseases like coronavirus, is it in the lab or where did it come from? Whatever. This thing is deployed like a military biological weapon on the earth. This is what um, we keep fearing, but it's like, you know, people are actually in the lab making deadlier viruses. I mean, as we speak, as you watch, somebody's in the lab, you know, even in the midst of a deadly outbreak, somebody's still in the lab making it more deadly. And now we've got these strange peripheral diseases happening. I lately I've been having trouble sleeping because I get your body aches um, and stuff. And these symptoms, I recognize them, but now we're in a new time frame where these symptoms could be very well symptoms of the virus. I kind of know that I've been impacted by it somehow, some way. Eventually they'll get around to testing me for antibodies, and I'm sure it'll show exposure because this this virus, this disease, is very elegant and subtle and secretive. It's not on you like Ebola or some of the viruses of the past that this thing has creeped up on mankind. Interesting. Anyway, reason. What's reason? What what's mankind's problem? Our religious texts and religious beliefs try to explain it and all that, but in any way, it just doesn't seem to go away. And you look at humanity, even 300-400 years ago, um, maybe during slavery's heyday, you know, people were exploiting, doing evil. They had designs on how to exploit and prop themselves up. The power group had designs on how to prop themselves up to, to really reach and be totally, to dominate another folk. And were their minds different? Were the values different then than they are now? Hmm, You know, and what will the values be? Will we look, out in the future centuries from now? Is it still going to be this one color group oppressing this other color group? You know, um, is reason when it comes to racism. Is it a fixed thing, you know, um, or are these, you know, as restrictions come off and resistance comes off of black folk, is that a sign that reason in the mind of man has come a distance, has changed from what it was yesterday? Right? You know, is some new proclamation, new advancement in legal rhetoric, a is it evidence and proof that um, reason in the mind of man has leapt forward in some way, to some degree? You know, our machinery, our technology still has a whole lot of, you know, it does things. There's some benefit to it, I mean, if let's take machinery and technology. You know, it's not that these things don't exist. It's just that mankind kind of discovers them. But the abilities and the things are already there, you know, from, you know, since the earth came into form, the ability to fly has always existed. Birds tell us that. You know, it's just that mankind had to uh, catch up, or discover and learn how to um, work the physics of the world. Right? It was always there. Right? But does that mean that man's mind evolved to some different psychological space? You know, but so what today's abstract um, offering is trying to get at is that, you know, racism is such a violation for ourselves. Paul Sartre, that great existentialist, although he doesn't like to be called that, would say that, you know, so much of mankind, especially on this issue of race, operating in bad faith, right? You know, because we are purposefully shielding our eyes, so to speak, from what we know is the truth, and we're not living the truth. You know, we are, um, when it comes to racism, mankind is at an ethical disadvantage because mankind is employing this device called racism in an unfair way. You know, it's for advantage, a disadvantage, right? And it's not. People are choosing to live within a false, um, a false kind of ethics. So Jean Paul Sartre would say, that so much of mankind with this racism deals living in bad faith because we know it is not um, uh, uh, the best way to live. We're choosing to live below our ethical ability. You know, in the description, I'm going to finish it with this. In the description, you're going to see, it's right at the bottom of this video. You'll see a lot of stuff I wrote about a correlation between gods of the ancient Greeks, of our ancient ancestors. It's the necessity of those gods and the relationships, Zeus, Prometheus, Athena, you know, Ares, right? Gods and the gods, their community and their order, how it encouraged mankind to have its own order and community, and how I correlate that even into modern times with a single God or a trinity or a lot of stuff are modern examples of religion, which I think are very applicable to this idea of man's reason and whether or not our reason has um, has come any distance, right? Um, it's just, that's something you need to do your own homework about. Our reason 2,000 years ago, reason today, 2,000 years from now. I wonder. Hey, listen, thanks for hanging out. I hope I didn't lose you. This is still about racism. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. That's day 332 out of the way. 365 days towards racial change. I'll see you next time.